All right. Call meeting to order and start off with the minutes from our last meeting. On March 27th.
Make a motion to approve the March 27 minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good job,
Nicely done,
Jane.
yeah,
Thank you.
Non-public. The same, maybe. For the same date. March 27, I'll make the motion to approve the non-public meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, and as it's a new Board of Selectmen year, we typically go back and look at our goals that we set last year and then look to change, modify, add or delete to the list. Jane, thank you for printing this out and getting this to
Yeah.
us. Would have been about August before I realized we hadn't done it. Hadn't gotten these to me. All right, let's get on through these and just see if we want to make any changes. Number one is the Village Loon water pipe to the tank that's up behind Coolidge Falls, Clearbrook in the village. The reason we have that on the list is right now that the water going in and out of that tank runs through the private system of the Village of Loon Mountain, which is certainly not an ideal setup, but it's the way it's been since the 70s. And you know, the solution to that would be to dig up a whole bunch of the nice private roads and add a whole new water pipe into that. And, you know, at some point that should be done, but I'm thinking that's gonna be further down the list of priorities with our water system, number one. It probably should be in more timing with when the piping that's underneath the ground now comes to its end of life. You know, it's been working. Again, you typically don't fill your town water tank through a private water system. But then again, we're going on 50 years of doing it. I don't know if we just go dig up roads just to correct
Well,
the
we're good.
situation.
Now with the current not owners, but people at the village are very good at working with Nate. So it's working for now. And hopefully in the future will continue to do so.
Right,
Right. I can't imagine they're gonna say, no, you can't fix the water because it would affect them as well.
Yeah, I mean, it affects everyone.
Exactly,
right.
exactly.
And
And they work well with them.
you know. I don't see any issues unless the piping gets to be degraded to a point like
Right.
we had the problems up at Indian Head, where like every summer there just seems to be a break of
Yeah,
water,
yeah.
some problem.
At that point, we could figure.
Yeah, and we're
Yeah.
gonna need to figure out, you know, who's paying for what we're gonna do and all of that, but.
Right.
Again, I think it's a town responsibility to get our water up to our tank. You know, granted, I know that it's a private water system in between, but
It's working.
let's leave it the way it is. All right, do we even want to leave that on the list? Because again, I'm thinking that there's been no major problems up there, and I
I
don't
wanna
know.
leave it somewhere. You know, it needs to be somewhere.
Do we currently have a CIP line item for that? Because if we are going to, in the future, when that line needs to be replaced and we want to make the corrections or whatever we need to do at that point in
I
time,
don't
we should
think
probably have money.
I don't think we have any specific water line.
No, but I think we
lines,
should,
but the water system itself, we do.
yeah, but most of that's broken into,
Very specific
Really good.
projects, yeah.
yeah. And I think that
But not for this particular one.
no, and you know, there's some that aren't specified, like it just says, you know.
Miscellaneous
pumps,
repairs or
pumps,
something.
miscellaneous repair. Well, there's a lot of pumps and there's a lot of repair.
That's a good idea. Put it in the CIP, then it's on our radar.
I think it should.
Mhm,
Yeah, here's
My
a-
preference, no.
It's right there.
There's the pumps and control.
Yeah, but there's nothing for the water tank.
No, specific.
There's nothing for
It's
the
a good place for it.
village of Blue Moon Road.
I'm okay with taking it off the goals as long as we are sure to add it to the CIP.
Let's do that, because it
Okay.
really, it should be just something we're saving
Yep.
money for, not that we're really gonna take any action on. So let's add, number one gets added to the CIP
Taking off the goals.
and removed from the goals.
Perfect.
We just gotta remember when it's CIP.
Right.
Well, I mean,
No, I'll put it,
you're the youngest one here. You get the memory.
So you've got your CIP, just add a note right into that on the water page.
Perfect.
All right, number two is the sewer issues, capacity and town growth, for sewer upgrades and funding.
That needs to stay, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say so. We still need to do this sludge study.
Right.
And, it. Some point, be. Receiving and reviewing the EPA permit application, and kind of taking steps from there. So let's leave that on the menu, on the
Yeah.
menu, on the goals list. Am I hungry? All right. Number three, work on obtaining written agreements defining the responsibilities for the privately operated water redistribution systems.
Were those done?
No,
They were started. They were started. It still needs to be done.
it still needs to be done. I think there was some discussion with those and, you know,
Why is the town even getting involved?
Because we supply water to them and then
Yeah,
they
but then
redistribute.
it goes through them, and they're the ones responsible for the testing, pressure. and et
Correct.
cetera, et cetera.
We need them. There was an issue at one of them and I don't even remember which one it was. They had a leak or the broken pipe or something and we shut the water off. Pumps were burnt out. That were not our responsibility.
that was at the
They
lake.
would note, that's right, too, thank you. They were
And-
notified, they knew, and they did correct it and.
And that was the one, I had an issue with them, because I'm. on
Oh,
that
right, that's
system,
right, you're up there, yeah.
And I actually had brought it to the state's attention,
Mhm.
because I got sick, and they said, oh, you have some type of bacteria. Have you been to South America or whatever? I said, no. Have you been swimming? Not in February. And they said it's waterborne. So
Mhm.
they said, where's your drinking water come from? And I said, a privately operated, and they found out it wasn't even registered.
Right.
When Short River had it, so that it did become registered. I know
Now they're
it's tested,
inspected.
it's tested now regularly. I think one of the gentlemen that's on the Zoom call, I think he sees to it that the testing he manages that.
Oh. It was during that it was recommended to us, and I don't know if it was recommended by the state or recommended by the. An engineer or somebody recommended that be done.
Okay, so that we've identified them, and now they want some type of a written.
We need a written agreement that we
Agreement or
provide
something.
them with the water and that's it, and if
They're
their system
responsible.
fails, it's on them.
Fire suppression, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
Yeah, and just to define the responsibilities, like when there's a major water break. Either within their pores, of what our responsibility is, or if there's a major break. Like before it, what what our response is going to be to deal with our lines that may affect them. Like shutting off the water to
Repair.
a section of town that involves pores. I think that's one of those things that it's totally irrelevant until it becomes super.
Until it's
irrelevant,
not,
because
right.
if there's a water break and people are yelling or threatening to sue each other,
It's
so
still something we should
let's
follow.
leave this on the list and. This is as much of,
Ron was really involved with that too, so maybe we
Yeah.
could pick his brain.
this is as much of a legal issue as a water issue.
Yeah.
It's really defining responsibilities and
Right.
protecting us so that, our procedure is clear and the pause procedures are defined. So let's leave that on the list. All right, process and timeline to resolve water pressure issues, adding addition to the South Peak tank, additional tanks at new location. We are in that process now, and we do have a timeline. At least we know what the next, target is, action item is. Maybe we get rid of that, but add in, one of our goals is to get the South Peak tank approved, designed and built. Just as
So
simple as that.
replace it with. Proceed to get the South Peak tank.
That's what I'd say.
Okay. Can you read it, what you wrote?
Proceed to get the South Peak tank approved, designed and built.
Thank you.
Number 5, public parking at the riverfront park, additional river access points.
I think we should add. Obtain a brownfield grant or work to obtain a brownfield grant to this, but keep it here.
We can do that. I was just thinking of getting rid of this and just saying the goal, immediate goal is to seek and apply for brownfield grant.
But I want to take the public parking portion of it off because either way, we still need more public parking.
All right, let's
So-
put in front of that, seek.
Or just on the bottom, instead of this item is in progress. Continue to seek brownfield green.
Okay.
Clean.
Got it. All right, number 6, the tank recreation parking area.
Still in progress.
It is, but it is a goal of ours. I mean, it's all done other than paving it,
Paving.
and that's on the list, and that's kind of Nate's thing is, I don't think there's anything that we have to do unless he. Doesn't do it or something, but I mean, it's on his list.
It's Nate, it'll happen.
It'll happen. That's
Right.
the thing.
You
It's
take
nothing-
that out.
There's no responsibility for us, so. The next one is workforce housing.
Let's cross out the description and add that. Jack is actively seeking.
Yeah, well, I think that's something
Solution?
for the voters to decide. Whether or not we want to rezone that land, the industrial park land. We had that come up when we talked about the skate park. Somebody had mentioned, I think it was you, Tim, that had mentioned that. And, I have talked with a couple of developers in town, possibly right across the street as we look, that's possibly going to be affordable workforce housing. Dave Rogers' parcel could be workforce housing. I've talked with another developer about possibly building on another site. We'll see. So I'd like to keep it open, maybe bring it up for a town meeting, but get more input. Have maybe a couple meetings with not only the business community, but the general community at large and get input. I know one person has contacted me and said there might be too much traffic coming in out of there, depending upon the size of the construction that we built, the number of units that we built down there, and what type of units would be built. And again, I don't have any of those answers at this point in time.
So the BOS will continue seeking possible solutions.
Sure. We
Let
know
me
we
ask-
need affordable housing,
Absolutely.
which ties into workforce housing.
Mhm.
Let me ask this, would we be interested in writing a letter to the planning board? And asking them to weigh in on a zoning change for the business park?
Yes. That's the only way it's gonna get to town meeting, so yes.
I mean, that'd be the first step.
Yeah.
Without,
Yes,
I mean, not that they have to approve it. Because it can always go in by petition, but it would still have to go to the planning board no matter what process it
Right.
took. All right, can we add that into the goal?
BOS will. Contact or
Will request.
Yeah.
Zoning
Zoning
change
change, yeah.
from, zoning change by planning board. All right. Number 8, obtaining valuable members to join town
I think
committees.
that should always remain on the board.
I think it
I
should.
mean, on the list.
I was encouraged this year, actually, that there was 2 people. Who haven't been involved that signed up for the planning board. 3? Oh, there's, all right.
Yeah,
But either way, it's unfortunate that we got people involved, interested in, and then
it didn't happen, right?
it
because
was
of
not an
the-
actual position
Error,
open
right.
this year.
And I don't ever remember there being a contested town clerk election, ever. And there were 3 on there this year. Well,
I don't-
2 viable. I don't think Susan ever was, I
Yeah.
don't think there was ever more than one.
And Deb and Ruth and I
Right,
just
right.
was thinking of them.
Never. So, I mean, it's encouraging that more people are
Interesting.
Then
Yeah.
you have, the budget committee, we have one of the new members right there
Yeah.
sitting in front of us, who
That's right.
joined us this year. Thank you, Wayne.
Yeah, no, I think that's been
Yep,
good,
leave it right
let me
there.
leave it on the list. All right, the short-term rentals. At this point, I think that's just like,
Part of daily
routine,
business,
routine
yeah.
business for the town. We've established, we've accomplished our goal. We've got Granicus involved and now it's just, I don't know what the next step would be. So do we remove that?
I think so.
I think so, because I
it's
think
part
we're
of daily
having- yeah,
business now.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not a
business.
goal.
Great. Yeah,
All right, ladies bathtub, resolving the signage and parking issues.
I would say we've done that.
I think,
I do.
I think we need to keep our, eyes and ears open on it, but we put in.
We've installed the signage,
Signage.
brand new signage, no parking
There's now
stuff.
sticker
Right.
things,
There you
and
go.
all the stickers. I'm sure that Chad has it on his patrol radar. I mean, maybe you can remind him, but I don't think he needs reminding, but.
we hadn't heard from Cindy or the homeowners association there. I think they were
Oh, I'm
happy.
good
with
with
all
it.
winter.
All winter, I know.
We do a great job in the winter. All right,
Summer's coming.
then let's cross that one off.
If number 11, I think, is redundant with.
Number 5.
Yeah,
Yeah, number 5,
yeah, it's the same.
so we'll take that off.
All right, the next one was, the burying of town power lines along Main Street and,
That would be great if we get a $gazillion grant, but.
I
No.
mean,
That's what,
Mm.
you read the rest of that. That's what I brought
Oh.
at one point when Ted Sutton was the town manager, because there was a grant from the feds called Beautify Main Street.
Yeah.
And it was 25% local match, 75% federal. And I had contacted the power company. I told Ted I'd write the grant for nothing. I had contacted the power company. They indicated it cost $1 million a mile to bury the power lines. Because I said to Ted, what do you see when you look out your window? He says, "Oh, I see different buildings, a different type of building." I said, "I see nothing but GD, power lines, telephone lines." Looked back, and he said, "You're right." He said, "I go by them every day. I never noticed them." But so they said it would cost us $1 million and the town would have to put up 250,000.
Oh, I heard it was way more than that.
No, it was $1 million.
But what year is this? Early 2000s.
It was
Oh, gotcha.
250,000 from the town, 750 from the feds. And
20 years ago.
we would have been, believe me, I think we would have got the money because that's what they were looking to do, items like this. But Board of Selectmen at the time, were you one of them?
Not back then.
Okay.
We can blame him anyway, though. I'm okay with that.
They voted not to approve the 250. So,
That's unfortunate.
and I was gonna do the grant, like I said, for Cindy.
That's
I bet you it's double that now.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing, if that was the mid to early 2000s.
Yeah, probably back then, yeah,
Um,
probably early 2000s.
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
yeah, 20 some
If
years
Chet
ago,
Sutton was the,
Yeah.
so I'm thinking you double that.
at least.
For some of the communities around us. Like Warren received it, they paved sidewalks and put up. Similar type mailboxes.
Matching
They got money-
mailboxes, yeah,
matching
I remember
mailboxes. They
that.
got money for that, that's where that grant money came from.
Hmm.
So it was around, but. We should.
Well, I'd love to leave that, maybe not on a list, but as a side note, that if anything were to come around. Like that again, like grants like that again, that it would be nice to see if. It's possible. Actually, I think it'd be fantastic if we did. Again, I mean, I don't want to go out and spend millions.
No,
Let's leave it as a side note, underneath our goals, which is how it's.
To keep it on the radar, yeah. And then could be the next one.
And then the next one is just further discussion on the industrial park. And again, this is not a goal, but just a note, we'll discuss the lot that the town owns in the industrial park. The selectmen feels that what the town needs is housing and noted that there was a legal way to change the zoning on part of the land so that housing can be built. Robinson feels that they are not in a rush to sell these parcels as much as finding the appropriate business that meets the criteria of the covenants. Ham feels there is room for housing and sellable business lots, which is the option the town needs the most. And so I suggested including this to the workforce housing goal, which we were talking
I think
about.
we have, and we can take that off because it's on the other side as number 7, and I'm okay with taking it off the side note.
Okay. You good with that? All right.
Where are we gonna put water meters?
I won't tell you, but,
Don't think we need water meters.
I think we've got more important issues than butter.
All right, do we want to add the skate park on here or not? I mean, I don't think we need to, but
I don't think we need
what about
to.
old hole access? I would like to put that on here.
Just to develop
Access,
the legal act, there is access. but
right,
develop
right, the
legal
legal,
access.
legal access to the old hole. Yeah.
Develop towns. Legal access to Old Home.
And can we renumber these?
Yeah.
Make sewer issues number 1?
Oh, you mean if you trying to do it like in priority or?
Yes. And then bring workforce housing up to number 2. How do you feel about that? I mean, if you look at our area, if you look at our town, if you look at our community. Workforce housing is a huge need,
I'm fine with that. Is that all right?
Sure.
All right,
and then leave everything else, 3, 4, 5.
in the order that they're in.
Well, obtaining viable members would be 7,
You
that
know,
would be
Yeah, but
6,
do it in the order that they're in,
and then old hole at the end, yeah,
crossed out.
yeah, yes. Thank you.
one of a comment that somebody did make to me about the industrial park. They said, well, what if I want to put a business there? I said, well, it's been since what, 2005, when I think the industrial park was created. With what, 11 lots was it? And only 2 lots have had businesses located there. So if you wanted to do it, you better do it now. Or three businesses.
Donahue has 2.
Donahue, and Mr. Donahue contacted me directly and said I'd be willing to sell. I can relocate. And I talked to Mr. Sullivan, the other business owner there, and he indicated that initially he was opposed. And then he said, no, he said, I definitely now at this point sell my business or, relocate and sell the lot.
And if you look at it too, and I literally walked it, the cul-de-sac and stuff, it right after the cul-de-sac, just on this side of where the locksmith business is. And fencing and evergreens and divided. We have an entrance off of 3A in between the Liberty and Dumont's. There's a legal access there that could access that, would be the east side or south side of where myself. And then keep the industrial park, and then there's still two sellable lots and a lot to make a turnaround for trucks.
That's an option. I don't want to make the decision here.
Right.
That's what I'm here.
No,
But
but
I mean, we can have our cake and eat it too. It can be the best of both. And that would leave all around that whole cul-de-sac to put workforce housing units in. So, I mean, there are options.
All right, besides Old Home, are there any new goals that we have? Is there anything we should be gonna have to add to the list? You want to put the fire station improvement / renovation / expansion as the goal for
well, I
this
think
year, make a
that's-
decision?
That's in the town manager's report tonight, I believe.
Is it? Well, it's, yeah, it's.
No, I think it is.
List on the pack that are, that are
Fire
on
station.
ongoing activities.
So, you know,
It is a goal that.
it's a goal, but I think it's ongoing and it's upcoming. So, you know, we've got some money put away for it.
Yeah, that's true.
And
All right.
then if we can get, well, then we'll wait till your report comes, but
We could put it on as a side note.
that might be something we want to apply for one of the grants for. But, you know,
We could put it on as a side note, like burying the power lines, just to keep it on the radar.
oh, absolutely.
Without making it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, it's complete.
All right, let's.
renovation / expansion of fire department.
Mhm.
Not with a number, just as a side note.
Fire station.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we're good with that?
Thank you.
All right, let's move on then to the town manager's report.
Okay, I'll give you an update on Granicus. The last time we spoke, Granicus had a proposal for a contract for the 2023 to 2024 year. After revisiting some of those numbers, I thought that what we were being charged was kind of out of line with what our current registrations are and what our current number of rental units are. So we've asked them to revisit the contract and either provide updated figures or provide justification as to why they are using the cost figures associated with the rental units that they have listed. If you remember, the rental units, I think they had were 700, 900, well over what we have currently seen. As well as I think their registration number was up in the like over 1,000 or 900. Which we've only seen 300 registrations. Why are we being charged for 1,000? So they agreed to revisit it. I also explained to them that, you know, we feel as if we lost at least 60 days throughout the contract and really haven't used the system to its fullest. Now had enough time to work in the system to make sure that kind of all the kinks have been ironed out. So Andrew, who is our sales rep, is going to take it back to the contract team and get either a revised quote or justification for the numbers. And also they were open to the idea of kind of giving us an extension on the contract. So I should have something new. I haven't seen it as of yet, but I should have something new to present to the board, I imagine, by the next meeting, because technically our contract ends at the end of this month for us to review and, you know, look over. So the
Suggestion on that too.
Yeah.
That maybe you go online and find out other companies that do the same. And just make a call. Hi, my name's Karina. Would you send me some information? Then when you talk with Granicus, you can say I talked with 4 or 5.
Well, there is one other major player who also put a proposal in when we chose Granicus. My concern with that is once you open that floodgate, then we're going to be peppered with it. I could easily reach out to that one company, you know, at least to say, would you provide us a revised quote? I think Granicus is going to do the right thing overall, but we'll see what happens when they put the proposal together. But I do think, I do know that I think the other, I can't remember the name of the other company, Civic Plus, I think it was, or something like that.
Sounds
Would be absolutely willing to put a revision together.
Somebody
for us.
wants your
Yeah.
business, they'll give you the right price.
Sure. We did send out the non-registered letters. They went out on March 30th. There were 117 letters sent, resulting in 40 new registrations in that week. So that was nice. We got a little bit of a bump. They are still, they still have about 150 to 200 properties that they're still trying to match up the assessing records with address identifications. We are all of a sudden getting calls from, you know, some of the cabins and the motels because they got letters as well, and we had to tell them to disregard it. So some of those addresses are being included in the rentals, so we're going to ask them to take those out. We also did talk about timeshares and how other communities handle timeshares, and he said the majority of the communities, Conway, you know, in our area, make them exempt, just because, like we had previously discussed, they usually have a on-site management staff with, you know, contact information, and they kind of also handle the rental programs for most of these short-term rentals. So I think we decided that it would just be better to make them exempt for now. Doesn't mean we can't make them non-exempt in the future, but for now, I think it's the best way to handle those, weak rentals.
Sure.
So. And that's Granicus. I didn't get to look this morning, as to how many registrations we had, but the last time I checked, we had, around like 280, I believe, so we're hitting that number that we should, or that we were prior to, bringing Granicus on board, so good. Grafton County ARPA funds. So we received a letter from Jerry Stringham in regards to the ARPA funds opportunity through the Grafton County Executive Council. So they are opening up some of the county's ARPA funds for municipalities. The max amount is $50,000. We just have to fill out an application essentially. It does still need to meet the ARPA criteria, but it's very flexible and it covers a broad range of things that qualify. And essentially, we could take it as lost revenue, or we could take it as daily operating stuff. So it really it says it needs to still meet the ARPA criteria, but they've loosened that criteria when it comes to us smaller communities and under 50,000 people. So they call us NEs. So what do we want to apply for? Is the question. We have a few ongoing projects that could probably use some help. My thought is, we do have some of these projects like the old hole and things that we don't have a current bucket for. We don't have a current savings account for. Do we want to use it for a new project, or do we want to use it for a project that's ongoing, like the water tank or, Riverfront Park or?
I think Riverfront Park is really in a hold situation that until the brownfield is
Right.
done, I don't see. Because this isn't money we can just put in the savings.
No, it needs to be spent by next. Yes, it needs to
So
be.
I don't see spending any money at Riverfront Park. I hadn't thought of Old Hole, but that's a good idea. The things I was thinking of is either put it towards the water tank, which is gonna include a town portion.
Correct. Yep.
Or would that money, or could we use part of that money to go towards the engineering review and even design related to the fire station?
That's
Yes.
Could we, I think step number one is to have the engineering company come and look, and we know that the ground had settled before, we just need to see, and then other structural things, and see if that upstairs is worth.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna approve it for engineering and design. The only reason I say that is because we're using a large chunk of ARPA funds for the new heating systems and stuff at the high school,
Yeah,
and there was specific portions that it could be used for. Design was not.
design is not one of them.
The air quality part of it is what qualified, I should say. So I don't know, and I don't know if it's different ARPA rules for schools versus towns either. So, I
The
don't
school
disagree.
didn't
that
take it
we
as
can-
the school didn't take it as lost revenue.
No. Some of it, yes,
did.
this is a different chunk.
Okay.
We did have lost revenue, ARPA lost revenue, but then this was I guess part of the safer grant, ARPA funds and safer grant.
Okay.
And it only qualified towards.
I think it would, I think if we categorize it as lost revenue, essentially, it's the blanket statement for, being able to use it as.
It's loosened up.
They loosened that up. I think we probably could do it for, I think we probably could get applied for engineering and design or investigative work, because it's really not even,
Right,
we have to get someone in there first to even tell us if it's viable before we
I
can,
think that would be.
before we can engineer design,
First
you know.
choice would be, first choice would be that, and if they can't, could it be used towards the police department, which is already designed?
Well, we know that most likely we're gonna have some additional charges
Mhm.
outside the $6 million. We're gonna have some moving costs, we're gonna have, the generator wasn't included, we're hoping to get a grant for that, but there are gonna be some additional charges kind of that we're gonna need
Right,
funds for.
so
at
maybe
some
this
point in
could
time.
cover the generator or
Right.
the
I
heating
think the
system.
generator grant. I don't
Is
wanna say,
specific,
well, I think that we can get that elsewhere.
okay.
Yeah,
Let's not take this grant and lose the another grant.
Well,
Let's-
no, part of I agree with you there, but part of this money could be spent like towards the heating system or towards the ventilation or something, and then that money that was set aside could be used for moving expenses. or
yeah,
something.
essentially, I think it can be used for anything in regards to construction of the new, police station.
But I think that fire department would be the first.
I would agree.
I would agree too. I'd like to,
Okay,
And I think the deadline's April 28th, if I'm not mistaken.
it is at the end of the month.
And also I talked with Representative Stringham and he indicated there was going to be some additional money coming out allocated to the county for nonprofits.
Correct, yeah.
But I haven't seen,
I
but
don't
I
think-
asked,
Yeah, I don't think they've opened that kind of
They haven't.
window yet, no.
but he indicated, that, and he's on the committee, so he's 1 of 9, I believe, on that. So we'll see.
I don't think that's supposed to open till July, honestly.
Huh?
I don't think that's supposed to open till July.
Really?
That was the indication I got.
Oh,
Yeah. They haven't, that's not etched in stone, but that's kind of
oh,
the
all right.
indication I got was mid-July.
so first priority with those funds
Fire.
is the fire station,
Absolutely.
if they're able to be used for. Really engineering, structural review,
Design. yeah.
design. If that answer
Full
is,
assessment, and that would take into what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
yeah. And that's a good one, because don't we need to do something with the air quality? I know we made some changes there, but, oh no, it was the clean room,
yeah,
Yes.
equipment,
Yeah.
And the uniforms.
yeah.
Okay, so that's number one, and then,
And but if that's not. If we don't think that's gonna be approved. What's our number 2 thing? Because we only have till the 28th to get this in. Right, so let's make that decision now. Is number 2 old hole? Is number 2 related to the police station?
yes, then both.
All right. Well, I mean, the police
I think
station
the
would be,
responsible thing to do would be the police station.
I think so too.
However, I don't want to negate the fact that the old hill access is still important.
Well-
Don't want to,
And then we've got the.
but the responsible thing would be the
piping
police
up
station.
on, Route 3. The water.
The water line.
It would be okay there, though.
I think I mean, either way, I think the police station would
Yeah.
be the better place to do that. Because there are those soft costs that aren't
Right.
included with the construction,
Right.
like. moving-
It's not gonna be free to move them over.
it's not gonna be free to move them
The
over.
technical aspect of it alone. is
No,
not-
I
yeah.
mean, we have to move that tower,
Right.
it's,
Right,
it's gonna be,
And that's not just us throwing it in the back of a moving van and go. That's professionals moving it, right?
Yeah.
So
Get the
Yes.
inmates from the House of Correction.
there you go. Hey, look, I got a whole house full of kids in the home.
Utilize.
and you have a tow truck.
Really.
And I have a children. We'll just tow them.
I think
All
that's good,
Fire station 1,
Yeah.
police station 2.
Thank you,
Perfect.
thank you for that.
no worries. Long-term debt and project funding, I've confirmed with the bond bank that submitting an application for the July sale does not commit us to the funding.
Perfect.
I think we should go ahead and put an application
Mhm.
in. I've already started that with Jill and Tammy from the bond bank. Most of the information they've already had from previous years.
Now you're doing that for both projects, both bonds?
Yes, yes.
Fantastic.
And then, so we will see how that turns out for them. I've also reached out to Bank of New Hampshire and Northway Bank, because those were the banks that we had previously received interest rate quotes
Union,
from.
is it Union now?
No, those separate.
Separate.
banks.
Yeah, separate banks,
Okay.
yeah. Northway has responded that they're unable to commit to that large of funding. And then I did hear back from Bambi at Bank of New Hampshire, and she was gonna put a kind of a option together, some different options together for us. I just haven't received it yet.
Gotcha.
All right,
So
what about Union Bank?
They're a Vermont bank that we can't through them, correct?
No,
I don't know.
that has to do with them holding our funds.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
We can borrow money from them as far as
Okay.
I understand it. And don't we have a loan out with them?
I think we do.
We have an account with them.
We have an account.
I don't know if we have a loan payment through them, but I know we definitely have an account over there, because we just received the statement this week.
We maintain an account and they give us the storage underneath the bank.
Underneath the bank,
dollars,
right, yeah. But I can reach out for them.
I think we definitely should. I mean, they're cooperating with us.
Right.
with
Yeah.
that story.
My concern, I think with, I think what we may run into similar to Northway is that some of these smaller,
It's large,
localized
yeah.
banks can't take on
I
the.
think it'd be worth.
Let's not make that assumption though.
Yeah,
They gave us, I believe we have one loan. I don't remember what it is. And,
No, we can definitely reach out. I mean, the more options we have, the better going into
Yeah.
this, so, that's easy enough to do. Oh. New police station final design package. I received a quote for the final design services from LBA. I got it at, very late, very late this afternoon, so I haven't thoroughly gone through it, but I can tell you that the bottom line, okay. So this would be for the base fees for architectural, civil engineering, structural engineering, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and it would be for a schematic design, design phase development, construction documents, plan and specifications, bidding and negotiations, and construction administration. And that comes to a total of $344,000.
That's about 5%, a little better than 5% of the total job, which isn't bad.
Which isn't,
no,
Horrible,
that's,
no.
It's not crazy numbers, so.
no, it's right.
Speaking of soft costs that are not associated with the project as a whole, or the bottom line as a whole, is they are suggesting that we do some geotechnical engineering, some borings to make sure that there's no, I don't know, that the soil over there is able to sustain
The
the
building. won't
building
sink,
itself, the
right.
building won't sink.
That is not a giant stump dump underneath of it.
Right, correct. That comes at the tune of $13,000. Survey updates, we have gotten Saborn and Tower on board, so that will help reduce our costs a little bit.
Fantastic.
That's a couple $1,000, but I'm
Yeah.
not too worried about that. And then potentially a landscape architect. If we wanted to jazz up the site at another $5,000.
Well, I mean, I am for the geotechnical engineering. That's to me a no-brainer. Having buildings in town built on stump dumps and old hotels that burn down very. I think that it would be smart if we did smart to do that. The landscaping.
Yeah.
Which that, I mean, if there's $5,000 laying around when we're done.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Maybe,
That's how I feel about
maybe, but-
landscaping.
No, I think we
Yeah.
We can figure that out.
We can figure that out. That's what I.
I agree.
think as well. And the survey updates as well, like I said, is with Saborn and Tower did the original survey.
Yeah.
They just have to add a couple things that LBA is requesting, some topographical
Yeah,
lines
sure.
and just couple of the culvert, just adding some minimal stuff. I don't even think it will be
Sure.
the $3,000 that they're quoting.
Right.
Because I don't even think the survey as a whole was that much
Right,
or
right,
was
right.
close to it. So I'm not worried about the survey work either.
That Saborn Tower surveying has been very, very good to the town.
Right.
So,
Yes. And it saves time than someone else new
Sure.
from Manchester
Nope,
coming
agreed.
up and, why not use the company that
yeah,
already did
I
it
would,
first?
I would recommend the geotechnical engineering though.
Is the $344,000 broken down into
Yes,
specific?
would like me to,
I guess I don't have enough experience to look at it and say whether, oh, that's high, that's low.
sure,
We
Would
can
it be
attach
worth
that to the minutes though.
But would it be worth asking Ray to weigh in on?
sure, yeah.
I
I
mean,
did ask Ray to weigh in, just so you all are aware, when it came to the geotechnical stuff,
yeah,
that's obviously another language for me, that's kind of not my, bailiwick. So I did ask Ray to reach out to LBA and kind of get an understanding of what exactly we need to do and how many sites and how many pits and Ray did work with LBA to kind of come up with a plan
Okay.
for that, like a proposal that we would put out. So Ray did help with that, but I don't think it's a bad idea to have them just look over the fees and kind of say, this seems high, this seems on, this, or whatnot.
I would say for pretty short money,
Yeah,
we could
to double check.
get his
right?
opinion on it to make
Sure.
sure that we're going on the right path. That's a lot of money. I know it's 5%, that sounds good to me,
Mhm.
but,
It's a complete package. I mean,
Sure. yeah,
Step one to step, A to
Exactly.
Z.
Um. Yeah, I think that's
all
easy
right,
enough.
let's do that, let's have Ray look at that. But go ahead with the geocheck and
Okay.
note of the landscape architect,
Okay.
right? On board with that?
Yes,
All right,
Same thing, we're still waiting, for a proposal for the engineering and bidding for the Route 3, water main upgrades. Nate did talk to Sam Kenny from Weston Sampson the other day to kind of prioritize some of our projects that we got going on with them, because we have quite a few. Right now, their priority is the water tank, trying to get, we have, they're currently getting a proposal from a company to do all the environmental review, the soils and the waters, the salamanders, the bats, yes. So we should actually, I would say, see that very shortly. We've been waiting it for a couple weeks now. But Weston Sampson said water tank is number one for them right now. To kind of get that ball moving a little bit faster, and then they will refocus their attention to the Route 3 water main. And I said that was fine. Because I think that's where we need to go. And then legal update on 4/4, we met with the judge, myself and Attorney Dennis, for clarification on the Chenard ruling. We hope to have final clarification in the upcoming weeks. And then this Thursday, there is a hearing on the Wood case to determine what will be allowed into evidence at trial.
thank you.
welcome.
And that is not a Zoom meeting, correct?
No, did you see my email? Yeah, it was, it's an in-person hearing at 2 p.m.
In Grafton,
in Grafton,
at 2 p.m.
2 p.m.
What day?
Thursday.
Okay, because I have that on my calendar
Mhm.
and originally I was thinking it was Zoom. You told me it wasn't.
Yeah.
So I crossed that off. So. Oops, I'm in May. Go back to here. 2 o'clock.
Yes.
That's what's on my.
I think we'll talk more in non-public. The original hearing was at 2:30, but they're asking me early, and we'll talk more about that in non-public. So right now I have it on my calendar for 2, but it may be 2:15 or whatnot, but I just put
Okay.
2 to be safe.
I'm scheduled to 2
Okay.
until whenever, so.
And I plan to be there as well, so.
Good.
I don't know if the chief plans on being there as well either, but I will make sure he's aware.
All right,
The only other thing I have is you don't have, it's not listed on the TM report, but you do have a updated expenditure report
Yep.
in your folders. After reviewing it, there are some line items that seem a little off. But I also had to remind myself, and I'll say it out loud for a reminder for everyone, is that some of these contracted services that we have, we pay right off the bat, right after town meeting. So it kind of skews things. Because it makes it look like our contracted services are 50 or 60% spent, but it's because most of them, the second the budget gets approved at town meeting, they want us to sign into a contract
Sure.
right then and there, or make our first payment or whatnot. So there are some numbers that are a little bit skewed. We had a department head meeting last week. And we gave the department heads all the expenditures as well. And I asked them, because I'm the one punching them in right now, to just review them. And we talked to MRI. MRI has a, we have our accounting software through. They have a cloud web portal that would allow all the department heads to access their own expense reports in real time. So we're going to get that ball rolling for the department heads. So they just have a little app on their phone or on their computer, and they can go in and they can see if invoices are paid. They can see what's pending, what's not pending. If something needs to move from one line to another line, then they can make a little message to me saying this is supposed to be in, this is supposed to be in contracted services, not miscellaneous supplies or something along those
Gotcha.
lines. So they can, rather than ask me, has this bill been paid, or is this, the accurate bottom line? They can see that for themselves in real time. So
Fantastic.
we're gonna get that ball rolling as well.
Excellent.
Looking at the numbers, I mean, everything is skewed to is the price of electricity and heat. And obviously, we've gone through the winter months, January, February, March. And that's where the bulk of those, but I mean, I'm looking at 60% expenditures in some of those line items. But again, it's the cost and it's the weather.
Mhm.
Right, and that will come to a slow for the next 6
Right,
months, and
right.
it'll pick back up in the last few months.
It's the same with some of them that, like the ski area, the bulk of that.
Is over.
Is over, right?
Right.
It's over now,
Right.
but there's still a little bit left to that last week or two, but yeah.
In December.
Yeah, the
Right.
first quarter is always kind of funky
It is.
because
Right,
it's,
always,
you're
yeah.
kind of playing catch up from the last 3
Mhm.
months and, but.
Yeah.
Overall, I'm not terribly concerned yet, so. That's all I got right now.
Just,
Oh, Union Bank, we have the Pollard Road sidewalk
Okay,
loan,
how much is that originally?
$423,303.
Okay.
so slightly less than 6 million.
Yeah, just under, just barely under, and that was in 2016.
Okay.
So,
It was fairly recently, so.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm sure I can find a contact and John's information for them, and I'll just shoot them an email and we'll go from there.
perfect.
All right, we got a couple. We have, I think, 4 or 5 applications for either veteran or elderly property tax exemptions that we need to sign, and I believe we need to do a vote on each one of these.
Correct.
So I'm gonna go down through them one at a time. Number 1. Elderly exemption. Janet Pelletier, 3 Edward Street.
You need a motion to approve each one,
Yes, we need a motion, second, vote, and signature.
and these have been vetted and quiet, and
I've sat down with all the applicants.
I'll make a motion to approve Janet Pelletier's exemption.
Second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's a standard.
Yeah,
It's 65,000, from 65 to 74, it's 65,000.
No, I mean, the actual exemption.
It's $65,000.
It's $65,000 off your total assessed value.
If you,
Just not the assessed.
right, and then as you get older, it's
65 to 74 is 65. 75 to 84 is 85, and then 84 and above is 125. Off the total assessed value.
Right.
We increased those at last year's town meeting,
yes,
and we also increased the income
Oh,
and asset levels.
signed on the printed side.
That's okay, it's only.
No.
darn it, OJ. It's what I usually do.
Well, usually you sign it and then you put your name over there. These are
I'm glad
backwards.
you messed it up before I did.
And today's the 10th.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we got a few new ones this year, and I think at the addition of the increase in the asset level and the income and asset level, I think. Put most of these property owners who wouldn't have qualified previously into the qualification zone, so.
All right, next is a veterans tax credit. Carol Wiley, 11 Robin Road, number 3.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next one is elderly exemption. Susan Ledger, 25 Maple Street.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And the next one is Patrick D. Simone, 23 Maple Street, Veterans credit.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
While we're on the topic of assessing real quick, just so you know, too, more of an FYI than anything, we didn't receive any abatements this year.
Really?
Wow.
No,
What is it?
required.
What is
No,
the
they're
deadline?
not. It's March 15th.
That's what I'm buying.
It's gone by. We haven't received any. The only one we did receive, but we received it very early, and we already know about was the PSNH, the, you know.
Yeah.
Utilities,
And
okay.
and it was
Okay.
on the interest because of the,
We've got.
But the formal abatements were there, you know, contesting the assessed value. We didn't
The value.
receive any.
Okay, that's good.
tell Lisa you're welcome.
All right, whether just
Next
routine
assessment
things.
comes up, what, four
What's that?
years from now?
It's every 5 years, so,
Every
and
5
we did
years,
it
so-
in 21, you folks did it, so, and we'll do it again in 26.
26. Yes.
All right,
Was it 21 or 20? Yeah, 21 or 22.
22.
what, the rebound?
Yeah,
Not positive.
no, it was 21, because it was right after I came on board, or right before I came on board. You guys were going through the
Yeah.
process and the, because tax bills went out a little late that year, I think, because everyone, yeah, so I think it was 21.
All right, just the town of Lincoln public notice. The public works street sweeping operations will begin the weekend of April 23rd. We'll be removing sand only from town roads and streets. Please do not mix leaves, branches, brush, or other debris with the sand, as we are unable to pick up these items. And then we have, please attached find order number 26795 issued in DE 23007, Town of Lincoln request for approval of Lincoln Community Power Electric Aggregation Plan. It is a commission approval of the Community Power Aggregation Plan, and that's from the New Hampshire Public Utilities Commission. We had,
Oh, you had that.
well, we voted on doing it years ago, and then they changed some of the things. We had to re-vote on it.
And we had to resubmit
We
the,
submit the plan, correct? They've approved the plan.
Okay,
We don't have to vote on it. We don't have to sign it. It's,
we don't understand.
we assign the application.
Yeah.
This is
They approved it.
They signed the approval.
Okay.
Correct.
there was a public comment period
Right.
that we were in for 30 or 60 days or something along
Yeah.
those lines, then now we're out of it.
And then the other thing is, we have the agreement between the town of Lincoln and the International Brotherhood of Teamsters Local 633 of New Hampshire. This is the police contract that we voted on, the increased.
Yep. At town
Last
meeting,
month,
yeah.
and I know we've talked about this and all of that. I haven't read it.
We can hold it off. We haven't received the signature pages from the Teamsters yet, so I think we can hold off until we receive their, you know, kind of affirmation of the contract, and then we can sign it if you want a little time to review it. I think that would be fine.
Let's do this. Because we don't know when we're gonna meet next, which was another thing we have to discuss, so, I'd like to take this home and just read it. And then I'll sign it and bring it back in, and then if you can contact each of them to come in. Now, if someone has a question and wants to bring this up for discussion in front of the whole board. Don't
And be the
sign
next
it,
Meeting, yeah.
let you know, and we'll have it at our next meeting.
Sure.
But if everything is good, let's get it signed and.
Do you have that electronically?
Yes.
Oh, so you
Oh,
can
no,
send it out.
Perfect.
And leave, I'll leave the
And then we'll
original
send-
line.
Leave the pretty one here.
Yeah.
And just so you
That's
know,
what we had here to come up with these high-tech ideas.
their new pay rates went into effect this,
The what?
their new pay rates went into effect this week.
Whether we signed it or not.
Whether you signed it or not, town meeting voted to approve it.
That's right.
So,
Correct.
That trumps us.
All right, is there anything else? You wanna bring up?
Yes.
Go ahead.
A student contacted me today with a couple pictures about possible benches or a bench for certain that would benefit the elderly. She sees many of the elderly walking to the senior center in the heat of the summer or in the winter, need a place to rest. Some of them with walkers and what have you. She's often gone out there and provided water for them and give them assistance as needed. I think it's an opportunity for the town to show we care about our seniors, obviously, you know. Want to add something?
Yeah, I mean, I lived there my whole life and since Lincoln Green's been there, there seems to be more elderly now. Health conscious, I guess you'd call it, just wanting to get out in the fresh air, get out of the building and walk. And a lot of them go up to the town daycare, whether it be for senior meals or I guess, or in the past anyways, they had the reading room that a lot of people take opportunity to use that. And some people just have that as their destination and then turn back around to go home. But in the meantime, they have to go that incline coming out of Lincoln Green up East Spur Road, and then they go up to Pollard Road. Absolutely nothing for them to sit at. I used to have a bench out there until the power company cut down my tree to keep them shade. We still have a little one, too immature to provide that shade right now, but Betty Daphne was one that used to use it all the time. She'd walk, but she'd be exhausted. And she was too proud to ask for water or anything else. Jim Jameson, who just passed away, he used to walk there all the time. Last year, he walked with his walker. He stood at the end of my dad's driveway because there was nowhere to sit. Jim used to always come over and visit, so you know, it was nothing to go out and tell him just like family, hey, you want something to drink, and he'd accept it. Then there's this, I don't know this lady, God bless her heart, she now uses a motorized cart. But she used to walk with Annie Carr all the time. She slumped right over and she lives down Lincoln Green and she does her best to make it up the street. And down. Lately, like I said, she has a motorized cart. There's other people that I don't know who they are, but they're walking all the time. And you can tell they just want to drop, but they push themselves. And one of these days it's not going to be pretty. So I just ask, my heart goes out to children, it goes out to the elderly. My age, you get what you ask for because you can still take care of yourself. But they need some help. They need the opportunity to have a place to sit and rest. Even the town daycare, those girls will push 6 to, I don't know how many kids in the cart some days. I've been there, done that. I know what it's all about. You know, it'd be nice just for them to have a breather, maybe stop, pick up a pacifier, clean it off for a kid and give it back to them. Just, it's needed. Plain and simple, it's needed. From Lincoln Green, my opinion is there should be 2 benches, at least one. One place I mentioned was across from Jim Welch's, there's a brook that goes along my dad's side and Jim's side. That is at the top of that incline from Lincoln Green. And they're winded when they come up through there. So I thought maybe there would be a nice spot. The only fallback to that is plowing in the wintertime, depending on where you located it, would be in the way of the plow bringing back the snow. So that was a concern. But where I had the bench on what I call the island in front of my cabins, the sidewalk's right there. 3/4 of the people walk on the sidewalk side, the others choose to go on dirt field side. So I willingly, I mean, I cut the grass there anyways. I know you guys have so many feet from the center of the road onto my property. I have no problem cutting around it. If something's vandalized, I can tell you, because I'd be the first one to crack if somebody did it. So I thought right there with the sidewalks there. And if I see somebody that really is in dire strait and needing something to drink, I'm gonna run out there. I'm gonna give it to them or at least stop it. If you didn't like that side of the road, across the street, directly across, are 2 apple trees. That if it was trimmed out under, you know, please don't go wild with this and take those apple trees out because I'll cry. But if the weeds around it, there's on one side, there's pretty bush. But right in between those trees would be a nice little place for people to sit and just breathe, you know, recoup. And the only fallback with that, like my husband said, is the sun would go more in their face if the bench was on the town property where the apple trees are. At least their backs would be to the sun if it was on sidewalk side of the road. So I'm just asking if you guys would consider, please, doing something so that the elderly do have the opportunity to take a break. If it's there, they're gonna do it, but if I were to go out and ask them, they're gonna refuse it because they're too proud, and they just don't want to admit they need the help. So I'm just asking, please, if you could help some way, somehow for them, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Oh, good, thank you.
I mentioned it to you and Jack the night of the last skateboard meeting. But I didn't know if you guys really heard me and took me serious, but the elderly is still trying to live their life, and I think they should, but I think we should help them have the opportunity to take a breather. And somebody could even put a water fountain in there for them. It would be great. You know, I mean, I got the 4th tap in my yard from the line.
Well, I think, you know, a bench would create in the proper space, an opportunity for them to watch their grandkids skate park, use the skate park if some of them are their grandchildren or other kids in general. I mean, the elderly sometimes become motherly to people that aren't related, you know, looking out, watching, commenting positive for them. So I think that's important. And like you said, there's so much going on at the senior center. They're constantly using that path to walk. I've witnessed it. I've seen them go there, but they have bone builders there Mondays and Wednesdays, I think, and you know, the meals and the book reading and what have you. So I think it's a great idea.
But even the skate park, that's still a long distance for them.
Oh,
to
yeah.
get there.
Yeah, but they can walk to the skate park, I think is what he was saying. They could take a rest
They
Right.
can take a rest.
Yeah.
before getting it.
We talked about, when we were doing this Powell Road sidewalk, we talked about new benches along there. At different points of a possibility of doing so, which never come to fruition. But there were issues. I remember Ray talking about it. That they would have to be so many feet from a sidewalk. And it would have to have a sidewalk. So I don't know if on that road,
On Eastburg,
Eastburg,
right,
there's no sidewalk. If that would be an issue. And I know Ray had that information. So, and I don't know, like, I remember talking about when we did the Paul Road sidewalk. So before we, because I think it what a private place would be, but if we can't do that. Legally is the right word, but and comply with laws, then
I can reach out to Ray and just say, are there specific regulations
I
regarding
just
sidewalks and benches?
shopping too, it'd be great, put one right in front of Arnold's house.
yeah,
Stick
that's
with
still
my
quite a
fence.
distance. I mean, it wouldn't
I-
be right there, it's still
absolutely,
quite a
yeah.
distance.
I think. I think the Eastboro Road is a good idea,
Mhm.
but I'd like to work out the details of that. You know, I don't want to put one there and then have to take it down.
Right.
I think also in the Eastboro location, that could be a summer only thing. We take it down before plow season,
Mhm.
put it back up afterwards.
Season.
Again, if it's allowed without the, you know, formal sidewalk being there. They are walking on the road. That's a, you know, wicked wide road for what it is.
Right,
Um,
well, because it was,
so let's find that out.
Okay.
And put that on hold. Let's do a bench. And I don't care whether it's, you know, on Tammy's Island or across the street on town land, by the apple trees, but either one of that. I'm thinking that on the sidewalk side,
would be better.
kind of makes more sense. I love it on town land. But I think it makes more sense adjacent to the sidewalk. Again, that'd be one more thing that would encourage people, especially those who are maybe more prone to getting tired, to stay on the sidewalk as opposed to walking in the dirt
Right,
side of the.
right.
Right, and we don't want them walking across the
That's why I'm
street.
back,
Right,
that
yeah.
close to the intersection.
right.
So, let's do it on Tammy's side of the street. Now, you know, one option is to just go and buy a be-made Home Depot type bench.
We
The other thing you
benches on Connection Road,
connected,
so,
which are the same, right, doesn't more the
Right.
Home Depot
right,
style, easy.
so I don't know, they may have another one out back, or, you know, it's got, because it's got the metal sides, I guess, and then it's just slats that maybe replaced occasionally. So he may even have something, something to see what he's got. Or he may want, or he may say, oh no, those are junk, don't get that, let's do something else. Or who knows, but I would leave that up to Nate, since he's gonna be responsible for it.
And I know you were talking about the ones with the,
Metal the train wheels. I mean, Ben Clark indicated that he was gonna be making some of those. Tara was gonna look into possibly seeing
I'll
if
follow
he
up
would
with her.
donate a couple of those, maybe near the skate park or along that road. So
let's look into that, but those are heavy.
very, very.
Yeah, you know, those are gonna be seasonal.
Not the season, that's the-
And second, I'm wondering if something like that would more go at the
Yeah, the
skateboard
skate
park.
Yeah.
Where it's a permanent
Right.
thing, as opposed to
Vandal proof.
plunking that on someone else's property.
Right.
I mean, you could never move that out of the way and mow and move it back.
Oh, I got a weed whacker.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
just thinking that maybe is a better
No, I
idea
agree.
for the skate park and put more of a one like that matches connective the connector road sidewalk.
Yep.
Up there.
Okay.
All right,
Technically, like I said, from the center of the road, you guys have so many feet,
correct,
so it is.
right. It is
Oh,
probably
Right.
our land
Right.
that we'd be putting it on.
Correct. But, and I don't know, I mean. More damage proof and theft proof, but. I know when I did my daycare, I used to walk up to Blue Mountain all the time, and they have that nice granite bench just before Public Works Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Which thank God they do, because. One of my daycare kids was so tired, we sat down there to have a drink of water, and I looked up and there was a bear coming out from under the bridge. And we thought, "Oh my goodness." But yeah, but those, I mean, they withstand all the weather. You know, and somebody's not gonna steal that easy, but I know that's not really cost effective, but if you did put something on what I refer to as the island, I'd find some way to anchor it. Because somebody tried
Are
to
the
steal
ones
it.
on connector road anchored?
Yes,
Yeah,
They are,
they're
They're
pulled straight
chained.
down into the ground.
yeah, they're chained to the poles, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, because somebody tried stealing mine before too.
Hmm.
And then I had a picnic table out there and somebody tried stealing that too, so. But I willingly will do all I can to help maintain it. You know, as long as we elderly have the opportunity if need be.
All right. Then let's look into the Eastboro location. And then what Nate's recommendation is for a bench type, yeah, on her property.
Okay.
Or in front of her property, it'd probably still be on town property and then right in the street right away. Super, anything else?
Meeting schedule, we're gonna talk about that.
Let's talk about that. All right, our next meeting is or was scheduled for 2 weeks from today. Which
The
is
24th.
24th,
I'm not gonna be here, neither are you.
and I'm not gonna be here.
And as much as I
one
love
time
you
for
guys,
him.
I'm not giving up my vacation.
can we do this? Our next scheduled meeting is, after that is the 8th.
Mhm.
On the week of the 24th. Karina, can you send out a summary of anything that you would like the board to meet on or discuss or whatever that you don't think should wait until May 8th?
Yes.
And at that point, propose, if there's even one thing on the agenda that you'd like the decision or discussion or, especially if something comes in from Weston and Sampson, or the water tank thing, suggested date being
5/1.
May 1st, yeah.
Okay, that's fine with me.
But if
And I mean, we can meet 2 weeks in a row, it's not gonna kill us.
if any of those are ready prior to,
If something comes in, let's say maybe either later this week or early next week, we could probably, if the board is agreeable, do like Thursday or.
Yeah.
Wednesday or Thursday of that week, the 19th or
The
20th.
Wednesday is the only day I can't, I have school, but I could do the 18th or the 20th.
Could you do the Wednesday if it was like a 4 in the afternoon thing?
I could do 4:30,
What time is school board? 6.
6.
Did you ask me?
I'm gonna ask you now.
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay,
What time do you say?
4:30,
If we need
If we
to on
need
the
to
19th.
do something on the 19th, 4:30 works.
4/19.
But you said Thursday would work too.
Thursday doesn't work for us. Oh, no, that's just, we're going to court this week. We're not going to court next
Right.
week, sorry.
That's the 20th.
Yeah, okay.
And would that Thursday work for you? Okay,
So either 4/19 or 4/20.
okay.
I can handle that.
Yeah, and I mean, I hope we do meet, because that means we either have a proposal from Weston and Sampson or a proposal from the study people.
Right.
And we need to move on it. So that'd be great.
Yeah,
I do have a couple things that I kind of forgot, and now that they've come to my forefront of my brain. So,
Okay,
I just wanted to say that, we had a really productive meeting with the planning board this week. I don't know if we wanted to talk about it at all in the Board of Selectmen's meeting, but last week, myself and Ray Corbett sat with the planning board to kind of discuss how we're gonna move forward with some of these new proposals that are coming in and the applications that are coming in the door, rather than us being kind of bombarded with building permits at the moment. We are being kind of bombarded with site plan review and subdivision applications for South Peak. So we've established kind of a systematic approach on how we're going to address some of these applications in the future,
Mhm.
which requires town staff to kind of vet the project before it goes in front of the planning board and give recommendations or concerns to the planning board as things that the planning board should address throughout the site plan or the subdivision process. And it was extremely productive. I think the planning board understands what happens internally, or the process that we need to do internally to get some of these applications approved with due diligence. So we met with the planning board and we discussed a multitude of things, but it was extremely productive. And I don't know,
Excellent.
OJ, you have anything else to add, but I think overall it's gonna give us a stronger ground to stand on in the future.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I think it really cleared up the process and made us as members of the board more aware of. Like, we might approve something and say, one of the conditions of approval is engineering review or review by Nate. But then in which all sounds good, then you get it approved, and then the details, it becomes, well, it's already approved, and there's going back and forth about what approval by engineer or Nate or whatever means, and it gets bogged down into this back and forth thing. So what we're doing now is when the application comes in, we get a recommendation from the town staff whether they think the application is complete. Yes or no. Well, we're also going to get a recommendation from the town staff whether the application needs, even if it's complete, if it needs further review by the town staff. In other words, do we need to have Nate look at it, or Chief Beard look at it, or Ray Corbett look at it for some other aspects
Prior to approval.
So that we don't, oh yeah, we'll approve it, but then, have all these people like then weigh in. That to me makes total sense, and it takes some of that judgment and responsibility and all of that back and forth stuff between our town staff and the developer. So that means that some of the projects coming in, we might accept the application as complete, discuss it, but then not vote on it and have the town staff look at it. Does Ron have any concerns? Does Nate have any, water concerns or sewer concerns or plowing concerns or whatever the issue is, but he gets to look at it. So I think it's a better process, and I don't think it's gonna slow it down.
I know it's not gonna slow us down. I know, we spend a lot of time going back and forth with the developers, with the contractors after the fact. I shouldn't even say the developers, it's mostly the contractors. There's a lot of back and forth after an application is approved. And we think if we can address the town's staff concerns and nip that in the bud during the approval process, it's going to speed things up, after the fact. So, the planning board was really receptive, and I was very appreciative that, we all kind of worked together and, I thought it was very productive, so.
Excellent.
Yes, it was a good thing. I had something else too, but now I forgot.
Do we have are we rescheduling the joint BOS meeting?
We've been, we've tried to have Woodstock nail down a date and time, but they haven't responded, so
Okay. So we're just waiting.
we're just waiting, yes.
Okay.
Well, I know they were.
They had some illness going around.
Exactly,
And I
so-
think they got maybe themselves a little behind the eight ball, and they're trying to catch back up, but James reached out to
Understandable.
Judy a couple times.
Understandable. Yeah, we'll give them some time to catch up and they'll get back to us, sure.
All right, did you have anything
That
else?
was it.
And you all set?
No, sir.
All right, then we'll do public participation and Paul, I see you have your hand up.
I'm coming, thank you. Hey, so I have a question about the $13,000 for the geotechnical work at the new police station site. What is the reasoning for wanting to do that? And the only reason I asked, because we got the interstate on one side, we built condos up above that. We moved that road and nothing has been defined in any of those projects that would indicate that there's an issue there. So I just wonder, I mean, a lot of work gets done without having that. I just wonder why you want to go spend $13,000 without some sort of prior problem.
I guess I would consider it a cover your ass move by the Board of Selectmen, because if we built the police station there and 10 years from now, we found that one part of it is sinking because of some geotechnical issue that we tried to save $13,000 on, and now it's gonna cost you $100,000 to dig and jack and fix and renovate. I don't want my name associated with that. That's my reason for voting for that.
I'm with you.
Would
I mean,
I do it if it was my project and I owned the building, and the only person that would ever come back to me to say you should have done that is me? I might not do it, but I mean, to be honest, we're stewards of the town's money. We're taking a $6 million investment and saying for $13,000, we're gonna risk screwing up the town in the future and our reputations.
I'm not willing to do that.
Well, my 2 cents, I'd rather be safe than sorry. I mean, that sums it up.
all I want to do is ask a question, because I know there's a lot of projects that get done where those aren't done. And they're big projects, so I just want to know if there had been any markers out there from any other projects that might have led you to believe that there was something wrong. That's all I'm asking.
No,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Public, Tammy?
Yeah, you guys were talking about ladies bathtub in the old hole. Are the town people able to use gravity? You can't use gravity at all. Is it private land or how does that work? Because I see fencing all along that you can't get to it.
I don't want to answer that. Because I don't know. I'm not a lawyer who's investigated
Right, I just didn't know if
previous
it was
agreements. I'm just saying, the town doesn't have a stand on that.
Okay, well, nobody owns the river, so anybody can use that.
Well, you can go up the river, you just can't get out.
Anybody can use that river.
Mhm.
Okay, up to the high water.
Okay, I just didn't know on that. And where are you standing at now with ladies bathtub? Residents still able to use that?
Yes.
Lincoln and Woodstock,
Yes,
property owners.
With-
Okay, and
with a
this is part of the old hole.
with a parking sticker, you can park at the river front condos. In that designated area, there's
Very small part.
15 or whatever, however many
It's
cars.
13 spots, yeah.
15 spots, and when they're filled, they're filled. You can't park anywhere else in there. You can't park along Route 112.
Right.
You can walk there,
Mhm.
but you can't park there once those 15 are filled. And you need a sticker to park there, dump sticker.
Dump sticker.
May I ask one more question?
Yep.
Okay, going in my dad's driveway where East Spur and Pollard connect, Tammy's probably seen them before going up to the town daycare, but when Bill Willie was on the Public Works, they put a new culvert across the road from Mansion Hill to East Spur. And on that culvert, if we have torrential rains, the way the culvert is, the ground will go down a little bit, but at the top of the culvert, at the end of it, it dips up. So it will pool there and then it will back into my father's driveway. Well, I'm the only one that uses it now, and once periodically my mother, but it still piles up a lot of water there. I just didn't know when the town works down to some minor issues that maybe they could just regrade that a little bit so the water will actually drain down into that berth that was made for the runoff.
Can you bring that to Dave's attention?
You're talking though,
Right on the corner,
but where it crosses the road or where it
No.
crosses the driveway?
the drive,
Okay, so
on the
it's,
drive, on my dad's driveway side.
okay,
You'll see, there's a telephone pole there and a guide wire, and you'll see where Bill's been plowing the snow just to get the rain out of the road in the wintertime. Just so it has somewhere to go instead of icing up the driveway. You'll see right at the top of the culvert where it ends, the ground just goes up a little bit, but that little bit makes the water back up and into the driveway. So it's a minor fix, you know, cost and everything else, but if it could be looked into, I
okay.
greatly appreciate that.
I just made a note of it. It did remind me of the last thing I wanted to say too, is that just so you all know, I imagine you've driven by and seen that, the trees have been taken down at the community building and they're stumping this week. So, that site should be cleared and ready to go.
That was on my list to ask and I did not remember to do
The
it.
kids at the childcare center.
Oh, they've been loving it.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Big trucks and
Those, because when they dropped the
backhoes.
trees, they
and-
would
yeah.
bounce. And they were, oh yeah, they were into
Who
it.
did that work?
Nate and his group.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we rented a chipper and a stumper and we're doing that tomorrow in-house. Everything's pretty much in-house. I mean, we had to rent some stuff.
Right, right, but
Yeah.
that's, yeah,
In-house.
awesome.
Could have hit a boom
Absolutely.
for the chipper.
Is that,
So we could have hit a boom for the chipper.
Yep.
And a big widow maker.
Yeah, I guess none of the trees were really, you know.
They were
valued
all,
this year.
they were
Yeah.
all, white birch for the most part, and that's just a weed. Yeah, it's not worth anything.
All right, well, I gotta go take care of my mother, but you guys have a good night.
Thanks, Tammy. It's good to see you. Thank you.
Wayne, did you have anything for us? All right, then I'm gonna make a motion. We're gonna go into non-public
Yes,
to discuss legal issue,
Yes.
legal update, I should say.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Can I have a minute?
Thank you all for coming.
Wayne, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, Wayne. Thanks.
Very informative. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Wayne.
Good to see you, as always.